Yes, we are live.
Good afternoon, viewers. Welcome to another session of question and answer with the Hindu Academy. My name is Vijay Hirani. I'm again replacing Nishit Pai, who can't make it. So welcome. If you like what we record and the question and answer we discuss, please pass the message to everybody else, and also please like our videos. Thank you. So let's start today's session with a very important question. So Jai Bhai, I would like to ask you, you claim to promote the contemporary version of Hinduism. So what is your source of authority? Also, who can you trust in this kind of recording?
Okay.
This message, yeah.
Okay, first of all, you see, let me be very honest. 99% of the messages we get from our viewers are very warm and very accepting and very loving. I'm really thrilled. In fact, that keeps me going. But there's always 1% of audience who will be perhaps skeptical or perhaps will ask me challenging questions. This young man will say, Mr. Lakhani, you say you are presenting contemporary Hinduism, modern Hinduism. What is your source of authority? Did you go to Hindu university? Where did you learn all this stuff? How do you claim authority to present Hinduism? My first blunt answer is this, my friend. You have the same authority as I have to present Hinduism. If you feel you've got a better vision of Hinduism, then you are most welcome to start your own series of talks, promote it, and wish you well, my friend. This is the openness of the Hindu system. It allows individuals to say, I'm presenting Hinduism in the mode that suits my own particular vision, and I'm promoting it for the greater public. So this is quite acceptable. So the Hindu tradition is the only tradition that allows you to. In the other tradition, if you say you're a modern teacher, they'll kill you. Here we say, no, you're allowed to do this. So there's nothing wrong. So I'm saying if any individual thinks they can do a better job, go for it, my friend. We wish you well. Now, what is my source of authority? This is a pointed question. The answer is this. You see, when I was a young boy, 17-year-old, studying physics, I came across the teaching of Swami Vivekananda. And that captured my attention, my intellect, and my heart was stolen. So I spent 3 years at university doing nothing but reading the complete works of Swami Vivekananda day in, day out. So I was putting less effort on physics and more effort on teaching the Swami Vivekananda with the complete works of Swami Vivekananda. And by the way, Vijay Bhai, it was in Gujarati.
Okay.
There are 12 volumes produced by the Rajkot Ashram, and somehow I managed to get that. And in December of when I was starting my physics, I started reading them, and for 3 years I could not stop. So I was reading this again and again, repeatedly. All the lectures he gave throughout the world, including his letters he wrote, everything. So in fact, my source of authority to present a contemporary vision of Hinduism is, I just point my finger to Vivekananda, blame him. So this is my source. But I said, how can you be sure? Because most Hindus have not even heard the name Vivekananda. So why are you making such a big fuss about him? At the end of last century, one of the major Indian newspapers did a survey in India and asked the Hindus who is the spiritual light of India in the last century. And one name that came up right at the top, not Gandhi, one name that came right up the top was Vivekananda. So if the Indian public, the Hindu public have already voted him as a contemporary vision of Hinduism, I am doing nothing but in a way re-promoting this idea suited to, in my own very limited way, to the world that we live in. That's all. So that is my source of authority and inspiration for presenting Hinduism. That's the blunt answer. The second part of the question, Vijay Bhai, that you asked is very important. What is the source of authority in Hinduism in itself, generally? Forget about me and my inspiration with this modern giant. You see, when you look at the source of authority, you might say, this is standard thing in other tradition. How does it relate to us? Is the source of authority of your tradition, say, lies with the priests, pujaris? Answer, Hindu says, no. They're just doing a profession. They know how to tinkle bells, how to use garlands, and how to do the regular ritual, kind of worship of the deity in the temples. There is a main task, or perhaps carry out some, wedding ceremony, etc. Are they a source of authority? No, they're just following profession. Good luck to them. They are fulfilling an important function in society. Okay, what about the Puranis who make a big fuss at the moment in the media? The only exposure to Hinduism you get is from the Puranis doing kathas, day and night, same katha again and again, repeated all over the world. Are they the source of authority of Hinduism? I ask myself, and I'm asking the audience to do the same. Are they the source of authority? Ask yourself. Puranis are just actually like glorified storytellers. A horrible thing to say, just glorified storytellers, nothing more. But because they kind of generate such interest, they're able to wind up the audience so well, it goes to their head. And they think they're some kind of spiritual masters. I saw once, one individual asking one of these Puranis, well-known Purani, sir, have you seen God? And the Purani, scratched his beard, said, I get a feeling. I said, he has no idea what spiritual is all about. He's just a good storyteller. So the Puranis, are they source of authority? Answer is no. What about the Pandits? There are some great personalities who memorize the Bhagavad Gita and all the slokas, etc., and articulately present it to you in a very beautiful, very colorful manner. You say, wow, they must be the source of authority. The Pandits, they're just clever clogs. They're spiritually, if you like, they're not spiritually enlightened beings whatsoever. So they're just clever clogs. And again, they are not the source of authority. They can look, what's their role? They do in fact look at the ancient scriptures, because our tradition says, if you can't find an enlightened person, fall back on the second best source, which are the scriptures. So they're very good at reciting the scriptures, memorizing it and interpreting it and presenting it to you. They do a wonderful job, so far it's good, but they are not the source of authority. So what about all the, we hear the word Swami. Swami means somebody who's mastered himself. This is the real definition. Now the Swamis are good people. They are trying to, in a way, come to resolve their own human condition through introspection and by helping the greater humanity. So they do a good job. Check them out. Are they enlightened? You'll be very surprised. If they're honest, they'll say, look, we are struggling just like you, my friend. We are not enlightened. We don't know what this spirit Atman is all about. We have heard about it. And we are trying to reach out to it by wearing these orange robes and trying to do some good to society. So that's the respectful position they hold in society. But again, in the sadhus as well, you'll find there are some swamis who are enlightened. I just give you two names. I normally don't promote, but I must promote these two names. When I was studying, looking around to see who is recent personalities enlightened, I feel this talking from first-hand experience of spirituality, I came across two names that really hit me. One was Swami Ashokanand, who used to be in San Francisco until 1969. If you read any of his material, it will make your hair stand up, in my case, fall out. And the second is Swami Ranganathanand, who was the president of Ramakrishna Order for a short period. When I listen to them, I know these guys are talking from experience, not mere book learning. So the source of authority, are the monks, people who run temple bodies, are they the source of authority? They fulfill an important role in society. They run a temple body, it's not easy, and they kind of bring in people, produce kind of very good networking system whereby people of the same background come together, exchange good ideas, learn good things from each other. So it's a wonderful job they do as a mahant. Are they spiritually enlightened? Ask yourself, not me, you ask. Think about it yourself. So the only source of authority we have are those glorious personalities who talk about spirituality from first-hand experience, nothing less, no book learning. Just get boom, enlightened, and you can see it. How do I know? When you look at the material they present, you will see the originality as well as the novelty. It's not that they are producing some kind of gimmick. The way they present this idea, these people are enlightened. They're going to, they give you a thrill. So this is how you suss out the people of authority in our tradition. It's a very important thing to do.
Okay, a very good answer. Thank you.
Very important.
There's a question we have from Trevor Michael. It's very good and a very fundamental question. If Brahman, which is basically existence, consciousness, bliss, is beyond language, then how can the scriptures describe that absolute truth?
Okay, you see, Trevor is a very great, very helpful personality who has been promoting our video clips throughout the Caribbean, etc. So I have tremendous respect for Trevor. Thank you, Trevor, for what you're doing. Now you ask him, why do you ask a difficult question, Trevor? Why do you ask a simple question, Mr. Lakhani? What did you have for breakfast? Now the thing is this is a very, very philosophically challenging question. Everybody who's enlightened will say blatantly the experience they had is beyond language, beyond words, is indescribable. It's transcendent is the very posh English word. The experience is transcendent. No words can capture it. And then Trevor, you are saying it's called Satchit Anand. They say the nature of Brahman is Satchit Anand. So why do you give it labels then? See, this is what you're asking, and it's very important. The answer is this. You see, as we are human, there are certain human faculties we possess, including the mind, and this mind is trying to grasp this idea of this experience and try and, in a way, relate to this experience using the mental mode that we possess. It cannot be outside, it can't be in a vacuum. So the mind says, now, this experience is dramatic, dynamic. What is the nearest way I can grab it or give it some kind of verbal expression? And let me be very clear. Somebody else was asking me the same question. You see, the experience is beyond words, no doubt. When you try and give it verbal expression, you enter the field of the relative, not the absolute. Absolute is what you experience, but when you try and give it verbal expression, you are entering the realm of relative. Even the Vedic scriptures, when you say, Upanishads, in the realm of the relative. So we never claim absoluteness to anything, including our own scriptures for authority. You enter the realm of relativity. So your expression will be relative. Human. The only way to relate to it is to say it's of the nature of existence. It's of the nature of bliss. It's of the nature of consciousness. And I say, but Mr. Lakhani, still. But when you really analyze these words, they are not minor words. They appear like casual words. They're not casual words. Think about it. Suppose I say, try and explain to me what is existence. How will you explain it? If there are no words, you see, you're already transcending linguistic ploy to grab the ultimate reality. So the word existence or the word consciousness again shows the limitation. When you ask a neuroscientist, what is consciousness? They say, we have no clue what we are talking about, except Daniel Dennett, who will say, it's a mismatch between the whole hardware and the software of your brain. It's an illusion. That's how we define consciousness. So I have to tell him, if consciousness is an illusion, everything we are conscious about is super illusion. Why should we bother with it at all, or intellectual gymnastic? So it's just jargon. They have not understood consciousness. So when you try and grab existence or consciousness or bliss is not the same as pleasure and pain, by the way. Pleasure and pain are something that get buffets us left and right. And we get buffeted by them, we say something is wrong. And then we look for something which is beyond pleasure and pain, and that's called bliss. It's not the same as pleasure. So when you try and encapsulate these three words we use, like Sat Chit Anand or Asti Bhati Priya, all of these three are already in a way waving their finger to the level of transcendence. That is why these are nearest words that the mental mode we possess can be used to capture the essence of what this spiritual experience is about. In fact, Vivekananda said something very important. I'm trying to look up that script. He said, the only tradition that is humble enough to say, even our scriptures of authority cannot capture the essence of what we are talking about. He said, but he's talking about Vedic scriptures, Upanishads. See, he's being honest. Once you enter the realm of relative, you don't equate it with absolute. Always, other tradition, they are fixed. They say, this is the word of God. You can't even interpret it, you can't think about it. Your thinking has been done for you. Full stop, so it turns into zombies. We say, no, you think for yourself. So we say, Shruti, start your journey with some kind of hypothesis, some kind of starting point. But then the second word that comes out of Adi Shankara says, Yukti and Vivekananda. Use your little rational faculty to make sense of the world you live in. So don't you ignore it and switch it off. Somebody says, Mr. Lakhani, how can you be sure that your common sense is right? I'm not sure. It may be faulty. But that's the only thing you got to use it to improve yourself. But don't say, switch it off because I'm not sure whether it's good enough. This is what people want me to do. People of other tradition want you to do that. They say, switch off your rational faculty, just believe. It's a matter of belief. And things will be sorted out when you die. Hardly likely. So this is why this idea, understand your religion in its depth. Don't even get caught up with the Shrutis. I just touched on something, Abhishek Bhai. One of the best, kind of scriptures we have is of course the Upanishads, the height of Hindu philosophy. In the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad, I'm just telling you, people don't know, Hindus don't know, there are certain verses which will make you shudder, saying this can't be really absolute truth. They're talking about how to generate a male progeny, a male child. And when you look at the prescription given, you will say this guy has got it wrong. So straight in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, you see Upanishad, you see a kind of a very relative mode. So even the Upanishads, I'm warning you, I love the Upanishads, but I'm telling you they still come with this kind of health warning that we are entering the realm of relative, so some of bits can be kind of outlandish. Be aware. Sorry, I really went on.
No, but I think Upanishads also one was Naya Matma. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, you see one of the Kathopanishads, Naya Matma Pravachanena Labhyo Na Medaya Na Bahuna Shuten. It is said, Kathopanishad is very blunt. It's saying ultimate reality cannot be captured by Shrutis or by dialogues, or this kind of intellectual gymnastics. That's what he's saying. Kathopanishad is declaring it. But the Hindus have always said, Vivekananda has always said so. It is only at the experiential level all your doubts will vanish. Only at the experiential level you realize what you're talking about. Until then, all this gymnastics is just a fickle exercise. But we still do it because we've got nothing better.
Okay. Oh, very good. Okay, we have a very simple question. You talked a little about enlightenment, but why enlightenment? What's the point?
Today we had some very cutting questions, and this is one of them. Look, you must ask these questions. In fact, some of the previous session when Nishit Bhai was here, somebody said, Mr. Lakhani, there are 7 billion human beings. Why only so few are watching these videos? You're talking such sensible stuff. Why only a few watch? This is the real reason. Majority human beings, like it or not, look, be honest. 99%, I was just guessing the figure, 99% human beings only want to live at the animal level. That means they are just nothing more than kind of intelligent animals. They know how to eat with knife and fork. But they only operate at the animal level. how to maintain myself physically, eat, drink, shelter myself, look out for my next, for the future, for tomorrow. So using our intellect, we try and understand, come to terms with our human condition and say, let me lead my day-to-day life as best as I can. Let me carry on with what I do, and that's the best thing I've got. And that is majority human beings. They can't think anything higher. They can only think about, I made plans for my retirement, where I'm going to go on holiday. They can only think at that level. They can't think any higher. You say, is that wrong? What's wrong, Mr. Lakhani? If you are satisfied with your lot, or the way your life is unfolding for you, carry on, my friend. Don't be bothered with enlightenment. Only Mr. Lakhani, let him kind of pull his hair out and think about it. You don't worry. You just carry on living the life that you are looking after your family, your friend, whatever your requirements, your routine day-to-day requirements you want to follow through it. I'm saying go for it. Nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying, Willie, horrible monster, don't do that. That's the best you can do. We're just kind of evolving. Animals live purely at the level of immediate requirement. They eat, drink, run from danger. That's all. Human beings say, no, we're more clever. We can plan for tomorrow or day after, for 1 year, 100, for 20 years or 30 years or 100 years. So they plan a little bit longer because they've got this intellect kind of clicking and kicking in. But only 1% feel that they have only sorted themselves on a short-term basis, day-to-day basis. They have not really resolved the human condition in the long term. Only 1% will think like that, because they are deep thinkers. They say something is not right here, and they think deeper. Only 1%. And I think this may be exaggeration, maybe even less than that. So be it. Doesn't mean the others are horrible. No, this is how evolution takes place. Some feel that they have not resolved the issue. Look, the best example is Buddha. Buddha was a prince, lived in luxury, married, child, everything going in his favor. Yet he suddenly realized that things are not sorted out. When he saw old age, disease, death, he said, there are serious issues and suffering is embedded in creation. I must find a way to rise above this human problem, suffering. So just by focusing on that, he produced Buddhism. So you see, this is called enlightenment, becoming kind of recognizing your limitation. But some say, Mr. Lakhani, I'm happy with my lot. Why are you bothering me? I say, I'm not bothering you. Okay, I'll leave you alone. But I'll give you an example, a very cutting example. You see camels in the desert. Now, camels in the desert can only survive on very thorny bushes. They are thorny. I've seen them, really sharp thorns. So the camels can only survive by biting those thorny leaves in the desert. And they keep doing it. While they're doing it, some blood comes out from the lips. The lips are torn. And they swallow the blood with the leaf, and they have developed a taste for it. So they enjoy it. So they keep eating those thorny leaves and they carry on. This is the state of humanity. We make do with what we have, and even the thorny bits, we develop a taste for it, and we say, yes, these difficult times will come and illness will come, but we'll overcome it. So we cannot develop a taste for this kind of short-termism, and so be it. But this is the thing is, you develop a taste for it. So if you develop a taste for it, I'm going to discard it. Say, fair enough, until you feel that you're not sorting yourself out, carry on. Again, if you look at your own life, or forget about it, I look at the soap opera. My wife, I'm listening sometimes. 90% of the time, people are crying, wailing, weeping, pleading, screaming, and 10% they get this kurtas and dance about. So I tell my wife, why are you watching this? This is really a horror story. But this is the life. So 90% of the time, if we analyze our own lives, we try and ignore the difficult thing that we have passed through. We just say, no, it's okay, we are okay. But really, when you really analyze, you do a balance sheet of your own life, the debit and the credit, the debit side is very, very heavy, but we like to ignore it and carry on with what we have acquired. We develop a taste for this kind of difficult lifestyle. I'll give you a very funny example. Vijay, I think it's true. Now the Dutch people were very nasty masters, and they were controlling Indonesia. And what they did is, they used to really whip the servants there they used to get coffee from Indonesia. They used to whip them and get the coffee, put on the ships. And this was going on forever. Now what can the poor Indonesians do? How can they take revenge on these Dutch people who are living 5,000 miles away? How can they take revenge? This is a very funny story. So whenever the owners, the people who were looking after the shiploads were away, these Dutch workers started doing wee on the coffee beans. That's the only way we can take it. Let them drink our wee. So they started doing wee on all the coffee bags. And this went on for years because they were really angry. That's the only way they can take out their anger. So they kept weeing. And somehow this coffee would go to the Dutch countries, Netherlands. And the Netherlands people developed a taste. True story. Developed a taste for it. So after independence, when the Dutch were no longer controlling the people in Indonesia, they stopped being. And the Dutch complained. They said the quality of coffee is not as good as it used to be. This is so to lighten up. It's an interesting thing. You see, we develop a taste for something wrong, and then we can fall in love with it. That's what our normal life is all about. I'm not vilifying anybody. Be careful. And so this is the way the world is.
All right. Okay. Okay. Another lighter question we have is this also, that should Hindus follow horoscopes?
Yeah, it's like, you see, I've been bombarded with this question, and I come from the Vivekananda tradition. So Vivekananda used to say, I am the spirit, Atman. I do not want little lumps of planets, these rocks floating in the sky to dictate my life, telling me that since I was born, this particular position was of all these planets, so your life is controlled by them. He said, I don't like to be controlled by any nature of, I am the spirit, Atman. So he said, this idea of being kind of at the mercy of planets is something that we must avoid. So when some very devout Hindus say, Mr. Lakhani, but we believe in horoscopes, so what's wrong with it? How did it start? According to me, for about 500 or perhaps 1,000 years, the Hindus actually did proper scientific study of lots of lives and decided exactly that when this particular person was born, what's the position of all the planets in the horizon. So they started, in a way, plotting the lives of individuals based on the planetary position at his birth, in the place of birth. And there was some kind of correlation. There's always correlation, a lot of variables, and you can somehow find some correlation. So to develop the correlation, this is called the Jyotish Shastra. This is how it started. But then you see, some of the founders discovered that in their own life it didn't work. So they said, this is not exact science. It is purely a correlation that can work sometimes. Now, if you want to live a life based on this kind of correlation that's been kind of suggested, I would say you are giving up your dignity as a living thing, saying, no, I sort myself out, not the planets. So that is my take. Be aware. And again, I'll give you some funny examples. Until recently, Shani there was considered to be a nuisance. That the Shani planet or Saturn was considered a nuisance. And then suddenly the Hindus have decided now the Shani, best way to appease this horrible fellow is to appease him. So they're praying and worshipping and doing arti of Shani Dev. And I was smiling and said, what are they doing? They say he's a villain. And now they're worshipping him, thinking that he will stop being a villain. In fact, to the contrary, he'll say, good. They're worshipping, I'll come them even more if they don't worship me. You don't appease a person who's kind of really, trying to damage you. Again, same with the Mangal, this idea that somehow Mars is also negative and somebody is Mangalic. I run away from all this, my friend. Have confidence in yourself to sort yourself out rather than focus on these horoscopes or people giving you all these things to wear around your fingers to sort your. How can these things that you wear around your neck or fingers is going to sort yourself out? Ask yourself. Just be rational.
Okay. Good question. Okay, we have another important question which says that when there was no humans or creation, and God was still there. God was neither male or female. So why will God take a form of something when He doesn't need to in creation?
You see, we disagree with that completely. We don't think there was a. You see, this is if you like the esoteric Hinduism. The esoteric Hinduism says it's a principle that unfolded as creation, and the idea of God comes afterwards. So there's no God before creation. Oh, I'm here, I'm set you off, and I'm already God, and I'm not male or female, so I don't have to take birth. That whole idea is Abrahamic. We don't have that. We are Hindu tradition, a Dharmic tradition, which agrees with spontaneous creation, with the Big Bang. We agree with that. This is the Nasadiya Sukta of the Rig Veda. It says very cutting comment. It says maybe God came afterwards, after creation. And that is the way we look at the situation. So why does God create? In fact, I'll make a funny comment. It's important. Sometimes people from other tradition challenge Mr. Lakhani, God is infinite. And you can't predict and show him as a human form, as Ram or Krishna, all these wonderful, colorful gods of God. You can't do that. He's infinite. Leave him as infinite. You can't make him finite. Why should he become finite? Let him stay as infinite. I'm very rude. And I'm very cutting as well. I say, my friend, you call your God all-powerful? They say, yes, all-powerful. I say, okay, very good. He's got all the powers? Yes. I say, does he have a power to become finite from the infinite? Does he have a little button? Ding! Like from infinite I become finite. I say, oh, hello, I'm here now. Does he have that button? And they don't know how to reply. Because if they say he doesn't have the button, that means he's not infinite enough. One button is missing. So I really show them in poor life, saying your God is missing one button. Our God has that button. Ding, ding! I come and become Ram and Krishna and play with humanity. So be it.
Okay. Very good. Okay. There's one question we have from Arya, which says about regarding temples in India. the temple funds today are not really used for free food, education, defending Hindus, or even temple, as a matter of fact. It's all government control. They're used by the government office and maybe wasted. What's your view on that?
You see, normally I don't step into politics because that's not my field. I must say this because I feel grieved as well. You see, with the time of Nehru and this kind of half-baked secularism that he brought in, that he learned from London, Harrow School, he really destroyed the dignity of that spiritual nation, trying to make it into this half-baked secular nation. In the process, he did a lot of harm. I mean, we already know what's happening with Jammu and Kashmir. So he done a lot of harm, including this idea of temples should come under Hindu temple, by the way, not other churches and mosques, but temples must come under the government control. And then, of course, there's a very corrupt system. So, of course, the money says, okay, the government officials say, wonderful, we can control this lovely gold and silver and all the money pouring into temples, and we can decide where to use it. And this is not being used. We know it very well. This money has never been used for the good, for the betterment of the people living near the temple. So what the heck? Why am I collecting the money, and where does the money disappear? In the corrupt system that we had earlier, this money would have disappeared. But I'm very happy to say, with the modern government, this won't happen. This kind of money collected in the temples will be used for the betterment of the Hindus in that area. That's what it's meant to do, not to disappear into government coffers. So it is going to happen if it's not already happening, it will happen with this new government. I'm very confident about it. I love this guy.
We have a question also as well regarding, when you do some major pujas, great pujas, people wear some sort of red threads on their arms or for something. Is it just some tradition, or what is it all about?
Yes, you see, in earlier days, the same is being, in a way, replicated in the West. A lot of things that we do here in India are being replicated in the West. For example, it's called the friendship, wristband, friendship band. So when they are two close friends, they exchange this band, this little kind of wristband that they wear to show their link. The Hindus actually do have this idea of Lakhani, this idea of some little thread to protect you. So the idea is normally is through at the Raksha Bandhan period that the sister will tie thread around the brother's wrist, giving him protection. This is it's purely a symbolic gesture. Do you think that little thread is going to protect? It's a symbolic gesture. It's a sign of love and devotion and a sense of protection that somebody offers. So the Hindus normally wear this to, in a way, symbolize their identity with Hinduism. When I want to meet a youngster, I look at his wrist, and normally there are 3 or 4 little red bands there. I say, yeah, Hindu. So it in a way gives them identity. This thread is to protect them. The protection comes not from the sisters necessarily, but from their own tradition, dharma. This is what he's saying. It's kind of a band of protection from their own dharma, their own tradition.
Okay, one other question here which is quite interesting and is also applies to me because I've been a vegan for a while now, is this that, the world is changing and people are changing their diets. So Sanatana Dharma, what is the link with veganism and Hinduism, vegetarianism? Do you think there's any link or no link? Because
there is a link, very strong. Okay. In fact, as you can see now, the United Nations just came out with a very clear signal saying that meat eating is damaging for the environment. Not only just for the health of the individual, but for the whole environment, and creates greenhouse effect which can destroy this world. So now, you see, United Nations, the scientific community is now deciding that meat eating is bad for the environment, not necessarily for the individual. Now, what is the Hindu take? We will discuss this again and again. Let me talk on it. Talk about it. The Hindus have never draw a line saying you can't eat meat. Be careful. People say, no, it's Hinduism, you can't eat meat. I say, don't make Hinduism a vegetarian menu. We never put this demarcation. And majority of Hindus in India today eat meat, fish, seafood or eggs. Majority in India today, Hindus. So you say, oh, you are no longer Hindus and you lost everything. Okay? So we are not a vegetarian menu, number one. But why do we recommend vegetarianism? It's very simple. We are saying the animal kingdom is too close for comfort. They're almost human. They've got feeling, they bleed for the child, they lick their little babies. It's too close for comfort. We cannot start eating, munching and tearing them apart and eating the inner parts. So it looks like a barbaric practice. It's too close for comfort. We say, if you want to live on the living things, which we are all cursed to do, then live on the least evolved things like plant life. So still we are living on the living things, but the least evolved, we say, let us at least try and reduce this idea of eating something that's too close for comfort. That is a very practical reason. Of course, there are very important medical reasons why we should not eat meat. There are also other reasons like the environmental factor, but the most important is cruelty to animals is visible. animals can prepare for for this animal farming. This kind of animals being treated in such a horrendous manner throughout the world. You don't want to eat that meat. Many English girls tell me we are vegetarian because we can't tolerate the violence the animals suffer who are prepared, who are being for factory farming. So that's why we move away from meat eating. But the second thing that you asked, Vijay, in a way puts me on the spot. You see, I'm a vegetarian. Simply not because I'm born in a vegetarian family. Hinduism doesn't insist that I have to be vegetarian, but I'm a vegetarian. But then somebody says, Mr. Lakhani, why don't you become vegan? This dairy industry is also similar because the way this milk is extracted is frightening. I find out the story and it makes me feel really very worried. I feel that I wish I can become a vegan, but because of my late stage in my life, if I try and switch away from yogurt and milk, I'll be in real trouble, physically, health-wise. So I cannot turn vegan. But let me say very honestly, in days to come, majority human beings will move away from animal, meat eating, as well as dairy consumption, because the cruelty it creates in the animal kingdom is very clear and very visible. So humanity is moving very, very fast towards veganism, and I wish them well, because that is reality. Because we must, in a way, recognize that we are creating tremendous suffering. Even in the dairy industry, there's tremendous suffering. We must recognize it, and in a way, slowly move away from meat eating and even dairy products. But it will take time, but it will happen. I suspect, Vijay, in 50 years' time, the human beings will say, how barbaric were we, that we were butchering animals. They will think like that. At the moment we think, no, it's normal, you see, you must have my meat. But after 50 years they'll say, what a barbaric practice.
Okay. This is an interesting question we can see on Facebook, is that, generally we say when you should do meditation, you should sit with a straight spine and a nice posture. But the question is, if you have some issues with you can't sit properly, or some injuries or whatever, or some insomnia, you can't sleep, is there any other way we can meditate?
Look, we are an open system of thought. We say the reason why we say sit up straight is following. We said there is some kind of activity that actually takes place in the backbone when you succeed in meditation. So say at least be ready to begin your kind of activity in your backbone. That is why you say sit up straight. That's the only requirement in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Asana simply says sit up straight. Suppose you got some medical issue. Suppose you got some damage, some hurt. Don't lose heart, my friend. This stirring up that comes in spine, even if it's a little bent, it'll come through. Don't worry. You are the spirit. You can kind of overcome any such issues. So don't get too worried about it.
Okay. One other question here, which is a very general question, is a lot of young men and women who come out from university, they really want to do something for Hinduism, but they don't know where to start. What should they do? They feel the urge, but they just don't know.
First of all, I would say very frankly, look, this is the sign of the modern Hindu youth stirring up. If, for example, you feel you want to do something, whatever is your skill, use it to the betterment of greater good, not just for your private good, your personal good, for the betterment of others. Try and do that. That's the way you become a true Hindu. Looking out of the interests of others, not just your own personal family. That's the best way to show that you are in a way now attracted to the deeper vision of your tradition, linking with other human beings. That's the best way. But suppose you have certain skills, then use your skills for that purpose. Suppose you are a doctor, then treat patients without money, for free of charge, etc. Suppose you are a person very good with IT, then please spread our WhatsApp clips all over the world. That's the way you will help us, or help Hinduism. But the important thing is what should you watch out for? This is my very cutting issue. Hindu youth, please be aware, be very watchful. Do not get caught up by all these kind of horrendous kind of personalities on the scene who are either making money out of Hinduism, riding the back of Hinduism to make money. Hinduism and commercial enterprise do not go together. This is the first sign. If you see somebody making money out of Hinduism, know for sure something is wrong. I'll tell you something very private. You see, when we are doing all this work, a very major Indian enterprise approached me and said, Mr. Lakhani, your videos are very powerful. Let's make them more visible in the mainstream media. But in order to do that, we must have a system which is financially sustainable. So suppose we pay a media agent to promote your videos, they'll ask for some money. Suppose you pay the money, I've got a little bit of money, so I put it in. What next? You must do a process whereby this is financially sustainable. Very clever commercial ploy. This is, you can't survive. Major gurus in India today are offering Hinduism which is financially sustainable. They'll charge you so much money to attend their talks, £1,000 per attending a talk, or do all these things to make it sustainable. It sounds like a good idea, But for somebody like me, it flies in the face of Hinduism. It can never be used for any commercial reason. You cannot sell Hinduism. That's the main thing. So this is the first thing you watch out for. Second thing, sometimes they sell you a gimmick. For example, they say, we know how to remove your stress and how to make your life more pleasurable. And they will give you all this kind of gimmicky way of capturing your attention. You know that this is not true spirituality. This is just, somebody acting as your agony aunt to resolve you got tension, I reduce this, close your eyes, follow me. So again, be watchful. Try and focus on genuine spiritual giants, and we have them, my friend. We are so fortunate. Other traditions are stuck in a rut. We are fortunate because spiritual giants of unbelievable story. Watch out for these things. First, they will not have any commercial motivation. If they have, run away. First sign, poor sign. They will not be interested in name and fame. They won't say, my paper, my photograph in the newspaper, please take my photo. Oh, look at me, selfie. They are not interested in that. Secondly, no name and fame, no money. And the most important thing, and Vijay, you mentioned before we started the program, you said the two things you watch out is Kamini Kanchan. Kamini means, attraction of the gender. When you see some guru, attract of the gender, watch out. This is real. Or Kanchan, money. Whether we like it, even religious people kind of get, when they hear the word money, they get kind of, drool in the mouth. So watch out for these things. Genuine personalities will not ask for your money, your devotion. You will not ask for anything. They'll just give. This is a sign of a spiritual person.
There's another interesting question here. I haven't seen this ancient Indian series, but apparently on the program it is said that the ancient Hindu gods are actually aliens. What's your view on that?
Okay, first of all, we recognize that just as we live in this plane of existence, in this mundane, very empirical world that we all exist in, we believe this is one plane of existence. We believe there are other planes of existence. We're not saying behind Mars and Moon or this kind of geographic position, but different planes of existence altogether. It's as if a different layer of existence where people interact, and they are perhaps more advanced than us or perhaps less advanced than us. We believe in different realms of existence. We don't say there's only one realm, the one that we exist in. It's not a geographic situation. It's very much a metaphysical issue. There is a different realm of existence. Some are higher, some are lower. We believe in that. We already believed in this. That's why we say some higher realms, some lower realms of existence. But whether these particular realms of existence have interfered or interacted with humanity, and that is why this, sort of imagery we see in some of these ancient sculptures came about by that. I cannot comment on that really. I can't comment. I don't know if it's right or wrong, or it's real or not real.
Okay, this is another question on food. Yeah, it's a bit awkward, but is it true that eating some vegetables like onion and garlic makes you more tamasic, and does it affect enlightenment?
Look, you must be aware, and this is again well explored in Bhagavad Gita as well. The three gunas, or the three attributes that the whole of the creation is made of, are called the sattva, tamas, and rajas. These are the three attributes that wind up the whole creation. It's like three threads. It is through these three threads the whole of creation can be explained. This is ancient teaching of Sankhya Darshan, Kapil Muni. Very important. It's still not been fully explored even in modern India, to the modern times today, but it's a very interesting exploration. So this everything is in a way, either sattva means in a way kind of producing a more joined up vision, balanced vision of life, rajas which brings activity, and tamas, inertia. And when you look at humanity, the world that we see this is same in the laws of motion. Something is kind of, for example, rajas is defined as acceleration, something that makes you move, force, defined as acceleration, turn into acceleration. That's rajas. Then you got inertia, stodginess. That's also in nature. That is tamas. And then you got this idea of sattva, that thing that balances. So action and reaction are equal and opposite. We see it in reality. So these three attributes that we talk about are visible in the physical world. They're also visible in other aspects of our being, including the temperament we possess. It may be more sattvic or more tamasic, means very kind of veering towards ignorance, or it may be more rajasic, very active, very passionate. So we have these issues. And we also say that certain foods that will make you more tamasic, means make you more kind of inertia, full of inertia and laziness and ignorance, are foods that are stale and outdated, and you eat stuff like that, it's going to kind of produce, because what you eat is going to definitely affect your mental mode. So some food will make you tamasic, some food will make you rajasic, and some food will make you sattvic. So we have always defined this. Now onion and garlic have been vilified for the following reason. Be aware of it. I eat onion and I eat sometimes garlic too. What is the reason why they are vilifying this? They are saying that in a way they make you very kind of drawn toward passion, towards kind of gender attraction. So in a way you lose your dignity as a spiritual being and turn into an animalistic person. They said these two kind of stir up those drives that you have that attract you towards the other gender, and this is why it's a downfall. So that is why they say these are not good things to consume, because they make you kind of relate to the lower aspect of your being. This is the way, but that's all I can say. I cannot say there's a real imprint in Hinduism, you can't touch this or you can't do this. Some sectarian movements will impose on it, so be it. It's their particular way they approach spirituality.
Okay. One other question we also have is that Gnana Yoga, yes? Is it also good for progress, spiritual progress?
Yes, you see, the Gnana Yoga is the most difficult one, because it says purely using your rational faculties, which should be sharpened intensely, you can make spiritual progress to suss out the nature of reality. This is what Gnana Yoga is all about. And the two tools that are recommended are Vivek and Vairagya. Vivek means have the power of discriminating what is real and what is unreal, what is temporary and what is permanent. This kind of all the time sussing out your life situation and saying what I've sorted myself out is only temporary for 20 years and I'll be snuffed out, not sorted myself out. That means focusing on that which is long term and permanent rather than temporary or a fad or a fashion for this time. First thing. Second thing, they say Vairagya. Begin to develop this passion, because otherwise we are kind of full of desires, very kind of strongly passionate about all these things we want to fulfill. And desires are crowding us, our mind. I think that in a way you need to move away from, or in a way harness your desires, control your desires. The only way you can do it is develop Vairagya, this passion towards kind of material, if you like, very physical needs. Become dispassionate. And this is not easy, but Vivek and Vairagya are the two tools. And they say Nishtha, permanency, or this kind of focus on this on a long-term basis, are the way for making spiritual progress using Gnana Marg, path of intellect. It is possible, but there are very few examples of people who have succeeded in Gnana Marg. There are lots of examples of people who have succeeded in Bhakti Marg, in the Karma Marg, in the Raj Yoga, but very few in the realm of Gnana Marg. And the best example is Adi Shankara.
Okay. One other question which is quite interesting is that we do a lot of chanting like Hanuman Chalisa. Do you think it really helps us progress spiritually?
Look, if you believe in something, that's the main thing, Vijay Bhai. It's very much a placebo effect. Suppose you believe in something, truly believe that if I chant Hanuman Chalisa, my issues will go away. Suppose you believe with all your heart and all your mind, then what will happen is that will bring about a change. So in this way, if you have faith in a particular mantra or particular chanting, that will resolve your issues, resolve your problems, then the fact that you got so much trust in it, so much love for it, will bring about a change. But suppose you don't believe in it, you say it's just word, then it will not help you at all, even if you chant or don't chant. So it depends on you see, we don't realize we use our mental faculty to a great extent in making spiritual progress. And this placebo effect that we don't recognize is very, very powerful. I'll give an example. Suppose somebody believes in Vishnu as ultimate reality. Now you say, Mr. Lakhani, but you are talking of impersonal God, Atman and Brahman, so how does Vishnu come in? But if that person, that individual is strongly focused on the idea of Vishnu as the ultimate reality, all his life that person has been focusing on Vishnu as ideal, is Ishtadev, then that particular placebo, the mindset, will drive him towards Vishnu, will produce a Vishnu for him. So this is, if you like, our mind in a way interacting and producing the result we want it to produce. So even this chanting, repeating the name of God, focusing on any particular deity, if you got that much confidence in it, then it will produce the result you are looking for, simply because your mind will produce the result. You don't realize it's a placebo effect. Your mind is a very powerful tool. So once it's kind of geared up, it will produce the positive thing that you're looking for.
Okay, one other question is that what is your view on Dayananda Saraswati as a personality and its teachings?
Okay, first of all, look, Arya Sama, you see, Hinduism comes in many different flavors, and it's not because we are kind of confused. We know, and they are well joined up and we're well reconciled. So we say Sagun Sakar Ishwar, we can say Sagun but Nirakar Ishwar, or we can say Nirgun Nirakar, that means Brahman. So we got this kind of variation. And Dayananda Saraswati, Arya Samaj or Brahmo Samaj focus on the idea of a Sagun means qualities, attributes, but Nirakar, ultimate reality. And it's not much different from the Abrahamic tradition. That's exactly how they look at the ultimate reality. Is Nirakar, no shape, and yet Sagun, it's got attributes, compassion and knowledge and empowerment, etc. So the same thing, Dayananda Saraswati in a way, and some of the Vedic scriptures are focusing on that idea of ultimate reality. So he focused on the idea of focus on truth, things like that, and focus on this idea of ultimate reality, truth, satya, and that's all. No attribute, no form, don't give any form, just attribute. So Dayananda Saraswati in a way focused on this aspect of Hinduism, which is very much part of Hindu tradition, and he generated a lot of interest. He brought about a lot of social reforms very correctly. But the main thing that draws me to Dayananda Saraswati or like him is follows. Here is a man who is passionate to try and resolve the problem of his people. When I say anybody truly devoted to greater good, to the greater good of humanity, Hindus, I have nothing but the greatest respect. That is why I respect Dayananda Saraswati ji for doing what he did, setting up the Arya Samaj, removing a lot of clutter in the liturgy, and in a way enhancing the position of women in Hindu society.
Okay, so there's another question we have, which is regarding Christian philosophy. So one person claims that Hindu scriptures are flawed because they divide humanity into castes, and that should be rejected, yes? And Christianity considers all the same and is the true philosophy.
Okay, fair enough. Look, I've mentioned this again and again. I'll do it one more time because this caste issue is being thumbed in our face again and again. Every civilization, every society on this earth, in the past and present too, has got stratification. We all stratify. England today stratifies. There's a class system. You belong to the blue blood, the royal family, or you belong to the upper class, or the middle class, or the lower class, or the working class. There's a classification, stratification, and something that are superior than the others. This is standard stuff in every civilization, including England today. This stratification is visible in every society. The only thing is, unfortunately, in England, it's called the English class system. English class system. Everybody knows their place in society. There's a place for everybody in society. So clever English idea. In Hinduism, unfortunately, it paraded under the umbrella of Hinduism. In fact, in India, you can parade anything under the name of Hinduism, it will sell, including hair oil, everything. You've seen that. Atta, everything in the name of religion you can sell. If it's religion, people will swallow. So unfortunately, this stratification we see in every society paraded in India as a hereditary hierarchical caste system well encoded in the Manusmriti, which was written about 2000 years back. So the caste system is just same as the class system in every society. So we have this variation, and this in a way became enshrined because I said it went under the umbrella of in anything in India. If you want to if you want it to succeed, it has to be under the guise of religion. So this classification passed off as Hinduism. And that is why we are paying a heavy price today, saying you create this caste is Hinduism, horrible Hindus. But every society has it, but they go under a different guise, different name. English class system is exactly the same. The queen here is the head of the state by mere birth, higher than anybody else. Not only the head of the state, head of the religion too, Church of England. This is the hereditary hierarchical English class system. Tell me how different is it from the hereditary hierarchical Hindu caste system? Same, except even under the title of Hinduism. That's why it's creating hell for us.
Okay. One other question. You just mentioned this.
Can I say something else about this caste? You see, you may think this is a Hindu thing and English thing, and no, but this is a much more broader idea. Unfortunately, human beings have a habit of stratifying themselves, and some group will control the others and try and live on the sweat and blood of others. You may think, it's India, Hinduism, Brahmins living with the Shudras or something. No, it is visible on an international scene. When you look at the first world, the American civilization, European civilization, you see this is the first world. For last 200 years, they have sucked out the life and blood of the people from the third world. They would buy the resources at the price they want to pay, and they'll give them peanuts for the resources they steal. So for the last 200 years, the European system, with the upper class, and the third world countries, including India, were the lower caste. See, caste system internationalized. The higher class suck out everything. Even today, when you see the bully boys, the first world are bullies. They will control the third world, saying, "Do this, otherwise you are in trouble. We'll block your money, etc." So the caste system has not gone away. It has just become international now. The first world and the third world, still visible in the world today. You see all these. I don't mention any names, but there are real bullies in the system who are dictating terms to the rest of the world, saying, "You are lower, I'll control you. Either agree with me, otherwise I'll knock you out." This is visible in the world. This is the caste system internationalized today in the world today.
Okay. We just mentioned earlier about the idea of wealth. the wealth can also be damaging. But earning earth is part of Hinduism, so...
You see, earth, we recognize that, you see, as a human being, it is your duty to earn, or if you like, make a living, create wealth for yourself, for your family, for the greater good, for the greater society. And that is your duty, that's the requirement. One of the 4 aims of Hindu life is artha, create wealth. Don't be a burden on society, contribute towards society by creating wealth. You may be a farmer, by being a farmer you're creating wealth for society. So we always recognize the importance of artha. But the problem is this artha, this money is very necessary, and yet it can be a very damaging thing. I'm telling you, modern England today. When the Hindus came to England about 50 years ago, there was a lot of love between family members, tremendous, closeness. They were all very poor, but very close-knit families. Now in the last 50 years, almost all Hindus are millionaires. They are really very well to do. Now what's happened is this. The money that's supposed to, not going to damage has now become a curse. Because the relationship has disappeared. It's just one-upmanship. I can do better than you. I've got a bigger car than you, a bigger house than you. And this is the showmanship. So the money which should really bring people together and not has become a divisive system. It's become a very, showmanship. So money can, if it's not understood properly or not used properly, can become a serious hindrance. Forget about spiritual progress, the way you interact with other human beings. In fact, my grandfather said that when money comes, when money enters your life, it'll kick you on the back so that your head goes up like that. You can't look at other human beings anymore. And when money, if you are focused on money, and when money leaves, it gives you a kick on your stomach, you get bent over. Because you can't live now. That's the only thing you thought was money, and it's gone, so you are bent over. So money can be very important. It's an important aspect of Hindu life. One of the main aims of Hindu life is create wealth. But make sure when you create the wealth, you are just a custodian. It should be used for the greater good and not something to make you feel puffed up. And this unfortunately is happening big time in India, in London today. Big time. I see it and I get shudder.
Yeah, okay. Especially in the Abrahamic and Christian tradition, there's the idea that somebody can be possessed by the devil and they do exorcism. So what do you think on it? Is it really true or is it just a horror story? What's your view on that?
Okay. In some cases it may be a horror story in the sense that it may be invention. It may be that somebody is playing up and saying, I'm possessed and I control you, I'll curse you, and somebody might be speaking through me. It may be, to some extent, maybe fraudulent. Okay, it's possible. Is there a possibility that it actually can happen? Look, I have no experience of it, so I'll be very careful regarding what I say. I think it is possible. Because just as we said, this individual is kind of occupying, this individual mindset is occupying this body, it may be possible, and this is by Ian Stevenson's research on reincarnation, it may be possible for some other individual to jump into this body and push out the person who's living the body. It is possible according to Ian Stevenson's research, not just J. Lakhani. So it is possible. So I think, use my rational figure, I think it is possible that somebody else may in a way kind of push him or herself onto you and push you out. Is it good? It's terrible. You must ask an individual to be so strong-willed that nobody can push me out. No, but this is me expressing myself through this particular mind and body frame. I don't want to be pushed out, pushed away. I am strong. And this ability to be strong and stand up against any influences trying to enter your system is something that we must develop.
Okay. One of the questions is also that, what is your view on Buddhism? Why can't somebody practice Buddhism? Isn't it similar to Hinduism?
It is very similar, my friend. In fact, I have nothing but the greatest respect and reverence for Buddha. Do you know why? You see, most people will say Buddha left his kingdom because he was worried about suffering. He had no suffering. He was having the best time in his life. And he walked out. For his own enlightenment, do you think? No. He looked at the greater world. He saw a lot of suffering all around in the living kingdom. And that hurt him. The person perhaps in the world who can claim to have the biggest, the most compassionate heart is Buddha, according to me. Buddha, not any Hindu personality. Buddha had the most compassionate heart. So here we see Buddha not trying to living his kingdom for his own personal betterment, but walking out of his kingdom to resolve the greater suffering you see in the world around you. That is why Buddhism is something that I have got the highest respect for. They said Dharma means resolving the human condition. And what Buddha discovered is the biggest problem in human condition is suffering. Even if we ignore it, it is still there. And how to resolve it, how to get over it. And this is why he created Buddhism, to rise above the idea that it is limited being suffering. You are something, see, this is the way. The only difference in Buddhism, the language he uses is different from the Hindu language, but that is all. It's purely word of play of word. So Buddhism is no different from Advaita Vedanta according to me. So they are using different language but the same idea, rising about the limitation you have regarding who you truly are.
Okay. What happens to a person who commits suicide? Does he go to get moksha, or what happens to his life?
You see, look, it's an important thing to address. Suicide is not something that can be recommended by any tradition, including Hinduism. We cannot recommend it. Why? We are saying suicide means you are in a way throwing in the towel, saying life has become unbearable, I want to run away from it, I want to snuff it out. I don't blame you, because some cases things are so bad, you just can't carry on. So I'm not saying that I promote it, I'm simply saying sometimes things gang up. And don't say, oh, my karma catching, don't get caught up by all this nonsense. Basically things gang up against us because the world is not here for our convenience. It is a habit of buffeting us, thumping us. Even if you are goody-goody, they can thump you. A lot of forces outside your control, nothing to do with your past karma. Have a habit of ganging up and shoving you in the corner. And you've got no choice but say, I must snuff it out. But we say we don't do it. The reason is this. Once you snuff yourself out, we believe in reincarnation. You're not going to hell, by the way. We don't have permanent hell. You just go through a transition and then a reborn. But the fact that you, in a way, threw in the towel stays as part of your character. That means when things become difficult, you run away. So that weakness in your character will stay with you even in the future lives. So you're not sorted yourself out. You become in the same position sooner or later. Again, you snuff yourself out. You don't get anywhere. You become more and more weak. You told yourself, I'm weak. That's what you do when you commit suicide. So the answer in Hinduism is very blunt. It says, when things gang up, my friend, it will gang up even if you're goody-goody. Don't blame your karma. Things gang up for a goody person as well. Roll up your sleeves and say, I'm in charge of my destiny. I will sort myself out. How can anything push me? I am the spirit. Have that self-confidence to take on any challenges, and challenges can become opportunities for you to grow. So don't say, oh, I become more weaker, I must throw my life away. It makes you grow stronger. So I will face up to my challenges and sort my, even though I struggle, so be it. So have that kind of attitude. Then there is no need for suicide, my friend. And I would not recommend anybody to even think about it.
Okay. One other last question we have is that, when you talk about Ishta Devta, yes? Can you make your own one up? You don't have to follow the ones which exist today.
Yeah.
Or can you think yourself as Ishta Devta and just worship yourself?
In fact, that's what Advaita Vedanta does. Advaita Vedanta says you are the essential, ultimate reality that you're searching for by projecting all the gods and goddesses. What was your essential nature? But as you can't relate to your essential, how can I collect to myself? You project it outward and build relationship. But in a way, it was to rediscover your true identity as a spirit, as Atman. That is why. If you, for example, decide to say that my Ishtadev is my true nature, I want to refocus on my true nature. That is how whole of Hinduism started. This is how Kapil Muni and Sankhya Darshan started. What is my true nature? Going backwards. And the Greeks did the same. They say, man, know thyself first before you make sense of the world. So we recognize. So if that is your attitude, don't worry. And even suppose some people say, Mr. Lakhani, suppose we focused on this particular deity, it was a mistake. I said, the fact that you got love and focus and confidence in the deity will lead you there, will take you to a superior destination. So don't be frightened. If you've got tremendous attraction to a particular deity, maybe it's not even real, so be it. The fact that you have that confidence will generate that deity for you, I'm telling you. Your mind is that powerful. It will generate the deity and come in front of you. So focus on the deity or anything, including yourself, that you can focus on to make spiritual progress. The important thing is be one point in focus in any field. That will lead you to the same destination.
Okay. Thank you so much, viewers, for your time. I think we have come to the end of this session. We have got so many questions received, and I'm really apologize that we couldn't answer all the questions. But just to let you know, we will actually analyze all these questions post this recording, and we'll try and collect them and hopefully cover them next time. Okay, thank you and take care. Bye for now, and see you next week. Thank you. Bye.